Hello and welcome to the Classical Pairings Weekly Host Challenge. I'm host Nick Johnson, and right now during the quarantine, I'm not able to do my favorite thing, which is to go to local bars and distilleries and have drinks with the fantastic and brilliant people of this city and the fantastic musicians that live and work here. So the good people of Classical Music Indy sent me a challenge, and each week they're sending me a piece of music written and composed and performed by local Indianapolis musicians, and I'm going to pick a local spirit and make a cocktail out of it with ingredients that you probably already have, but with a local spirit that you could pick up with a curbside pickup from a distillery or a brewery or somebody that's open in the city. Our goal here is to support local musicians, support local businesses, local distilleries, and I hopefully support everybody. So today we're going to be listening to a piece of music by Jordan Munson, a local composer. The work is called Until My Last. It's a fantastic pointillist piece. We'll get there in just a bit. And we're going to be pairing it with an absinthe drip from Eighth Day Distillery's Chat Maison. This is a really great absinthe they make that you can go pick up with a curbside delivery at Eighth Day Distillery in the Near East Side. One of my favorite spots for cocktails when one can do that sort of thing. So, real quick, let me run down what you're going to need to make this cocktail. We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about the music, and we'll pair it all together. So, this is what I have laid out. Now, the idea is that you are going to hopefully have most of this stuff at home. Other than the bottle of absinthe, of course, which you'll go pick up and buy and support your local distillery. So what you're going to need is first some very cold water. You're then going to need a way to transmit that very cold water onto the sugar cube. I'm just using an eyedropper that I took out of a bottle of bitters. Maybe people have eyedroppers normally. I only have them in bitters bottles, but anyway, that's what I've got. Normally there'd be like a nice fancy spoon here. We're just going to use a fork and a glass, and then some sugar cubes. These are ones that we just made because we don't have any sugar cubes and we're not going to go to a grocery store right now to pick up sugar cubes during a quarantine. So we made these. It's real simple. It's just sugar and water, and it's just a little bit of water and sugar, and you put them, what we did is put in a meatloaf pan in the oven at about 170 degrees for an hour, took it out and kind of cracked it. They're not perfectly shaped, but they work for what we do. So that's all you're going to need to do this drink. So again, the piece of music we're going to be listening to is Until My Last. This is by Jordan Munson. You can find this on Spotify or on his website, jordanmunson.com. It's a really neat piece of music that I'll describe in a little bit to pair with this beverage. But why don't we go ahead and start with the cocktail? Because this is the part that, I'm excited about all of it, but it's more fun when you're holding the drink with you, right? So let's go ahead and put this drink together. It's my favorite part of the show. We get to have our drink where we listen to this beautiful, amazing music. So absinthe is a spirit with a really interesting history. It's an anise-flavored liqueur, usually made involving wormwood. It has this history and this reputation that perhaps it is somehow psychoactive or makes people go crazy. Realistically, that's not actually true. The thing is that it just has a really high alcohol content, and so it did make people go crazy, but not any more than any other spirit would have. But people were drinking it so much, and then sort of social pressure of when you drink absinthe, you go nuts, started to change the way that people experience the drink. Laws were enacted. It was banned in many places of the world for really not any reason that this would be banned and not bourbon, except that bourbon is usually at a lower proof. Because absinthe, this one, for example, is 132 proof that you can get from Eighth Day. Absinthe tends to be a really high proof liquor, which is why you drink it the way we're about to do, where you dilute it and you cut down that proof a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and build this drink. All you need to really do, this one is super simple once you have the ingredients, is you can start with a shot or an ounce of absinthe. So let me fill my jigger here. And then you're going to want to put your fork. If you have a fancy slotted spoon, you're a fancier person than I am, and good for you. You can use that. If you don't, just use a fork that'll balance. That's the only part that's hard for me finding one. And then you put a sugar cube right on it. The reason I chose this drink with this music, I think you'll hear once we start listening to the piece. It's a very sensory kind of like almost a dripping sound that happens in the piece, and it sort of like envelops everything about you. And so I was thinking of a drink that's really kind of fun with a ritual. And so all you do is then slowly drip very cold water onto the sugar, and then the sugar is going to slowly start to dissolve and drip into the drink. So we're accomplishing two things here. We are cutting down the proof by putting the cold water in it, and we're increasing the sweetness of the drink by putting in the sugar. And the other thing is, I mean, like with a lot of cocktails, there it goes, starting to drip. We're enjoying the ritual of it. I mean, it's this beautiful green color. We're watching the sugar get dissolved into it. It's something that you can kind of imagine being at a bar in Prague or in Paris doing this. And you just give it several drips and just kind of let it go. What I would recommend, we'll talk about the music in just a minute, is that you actually do this while listening to the music, and you'll see why I chose this. And this is just as much a part of the ritual as even having the drink itself, as you get to sort of watch this sugar water drip down into the beverage. It's really kind of fun and kind of beautiful. Then the absinthe is ready. And what I love specifically about 8th Day's absinthe is there's almost a ginger note in this. Like you get the strong licorice flavor, but it's a really mature absinthe. And so now that you have your drink, I want to talk a little bit about this piece by Jordan Munson. He's a local composer and he's also a sound artist. And so in his music, he will do a lot to combine or create this aural experience. You don't necessarily think of it as a piece of music, but rather something that envelops you. It takes up your entire space. The music with these drips and these drops and these electronic sounds. The New York Times reviewed this and said it's got acoustic melody and electronic rhythm with thrilling purpose. And it's this thrilling purpose that I really like about this piece. The way that he sort of takes control of your sound environment. And it just sort of takes all your focus. You just sort of pay attention to this beautiful combination of artistry and science and art. So we're going to go ahead and listen to Until My Last. Hopefully you have your absinthe ready. So go ahead, take a listen to Jordan Munson's Until My Last, and cheers. Thank you so much for watching the Classical Pairings Weekly Host Challenge. I hope you've enjoyed this music by Jordan Munson. Go listen to the rest of the piece. We've only given you a small taste of it here. It's a really great piece. You can hear it on Spotify or on jordanmunson.com. Go swing by 8th Day Distillery in the near east side. Pick up a bottle of their Absinthe. It's a really great spirit that I think a lot of people in the city don't know. And maybe it'll help get you through some of these quarantine nights, as it were. We'll be back every week. Classical Music Indy is going to keep sending me some local music by local composers and performers, and I'm going to come up with cocktails using ingredients you hopefully have, plus a local spirit. So we're going to have a lot of fun. Season 2 of Classical Pairings will be back once we're able to go back to bars and do the thing that we like to do. If you've never listened to our show, you can check out Season 1 right now on all major podcast platforms. So thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Cheers.